All right, parents. Well, this one is for all of you that have recently dropped off a kid at college. Maybe you've done it in the past. You remember what it feels like. But my wife and I have just been through this, and we were packing up the car, and over the course of the week of getting ready to take him there, I feel like it was the most introspective time that I've had in a long time. Because if you think about it, the very foundation of our family, the very beginning of something great was moving on to the next chapter. And my son was moving on to go to college, to go play soccer, the sport that he started playing when he was just a couple years old, watching me on the sideline. And I had all these thoughts, and I wanted to kind of just go over some of them because I think they're interesting from a perspective of what we go through. I feel like we're so prepared for raising them. And we actually feel like they're prepared. I mean, for the most part, I felt like he was prepared to go. But I don't know that my wife and I were prepared for how it feels when they go. Like, I can remember thinking through all the things that we need to make sure we get him ready for, but I wasn't really thinking of all the things that we needed to get ready for. And so it's really, really interesting. But I actually wrote him a letter, a note. Of course, I put it in my iPhone because he wouldn't have read it if I wrote it out. It would have taken him a lot longer. But I wrote him a note that I sent and I shared, and really I felt like it was super interesting because I was struggling to kind of get through all of the changes and all of the thoughts of how our family dynamic was changing. And if you think about it, I work and I work a lot, and I love doing the podcast, and I love doing all the things that I get to do on top of my day job. But my spare time is pretty much, especially for the last 5 years or so, um, has been going to soccer, driving to soccer, going out of town, taking them to one tournament. You got this tournament, I got that tournament. I mean, we are high-fiving on the way by each other on a regular basis. And you watch them grow up, but it goes so fast. And so I kind of just wrote him a note, and I was just reflecting the week of, I was thinking about all the things that you think about, like the fact that all of the time that's gone by went so fast, and how much I would give for just a little bit of that extra time. I found myself thinking about, wrestling as a little kid. And I have two sons. One, my oldest, loves to wrestle me, but he wants to beat me every time. My youngest, as a kid, would actually like just hug me. And he was the opposite. He wasn't really trying to hurt me, but the other was trying to be bigger and better and stronger than me. And today he is bigger and probably better and stronger than me, but I'm not willing to concede just yet. But I think about just a little bit more time, a little bit more of the games, like when they were playing kickball, not soccer, just running around at the academy games, and those wrestling matches, and the watching of the movies, like the Cars movie. We probably watched 1,000 times, and he knows every single part of it. To this day, about a month before he went to college, he was like, "Hey, you want to watch a movie?" And it was probably the other way around. "Hey, do you want to watch a movie?" And he goes, "Sure, I'll watch a movie with you, Dad." And we end up watching Cars when they go to Europe. I think it's Cars 2. I don't remember. But it was just remembering the excitement of going to see all those movies and how new it was. Walking through the house and seeing all the little things that are no longer a part of his life, but a part of ours forever. The little Matchbox cars and the moments that we had growing up are the things that kind of flood to you as you're getting through this very, very pinnacle moment. So I remember being pretty unprepared for this. I was extremely independent when I was growing up, and I did everything to kind of reject all the traditional benefits I had from the good food at home. I would eat out all the time. I was working a lot. And so when I went to college, I was like, oh, I'm ready for this independent experience. And then I found myself calling my mom, yes, from a payphone for those of you listening. I would call my mom and I would be like, hey, I don't know if this college thing's for me. And she would say, okay, well, let's see how you feel tomorrow. Or I think you're good. And she would just encourage me and I would move on. So I know it's a really big moment for us because I remember experiencing it. I gave my son some advice and I said, number one, I know you're physically strong, but don't forget to lean on mom for all the right reasons. She's going to believe in you more than you know, and she's going to give you that extra strength. I also said, she could be your greatest ally. And from the first time that she has seen you in this world, she's been your advocate. And a father is too. I mean, a father is in a different way. In my perspective, dad is the only person in the world that wants you to be better than him. He wants you to not only be all you're supposed to be, but he definitely wants you to be a better version of anything he could have produced himself because he believes in you so much. And I wanted him to know those things. Preparing for that next chapter, it's the everyday moments that we miss the most. Like that's another thing that just comes to you is that when you're in the everyday, when you're in the mundane, when you're in that moment of life where it's just the same and you're eating the same thing for dinner, and my boys will say, is it chicken, steak, or fish? And I laugh because I'm like, these are awesome choices. Of course, my wife and I have curated these awesome choices, but the reality is it's the mundane, it's the same, but that's where life's lived. Life is really lived in the moments of the mundane, of the boring, of the everyday. And these are the things that really stand out. And you don't realize it until you walk in the door and there's nobody that greets you when you walk in the door. Well, the dog greets me now. But the reality is for years, there were little footsteps that would run and just come up to me like it was the greatest moment of their day. And I was so tired. And you're always so exhausted in those moments. But from a father, looking back on those moments, if you're listening to this and you're in the early parts of those moments, embrace that because that goes way too fast. I definitely told him to reflect on all of the things he had accomplished in the last year. My son had a phenomenal year in sports. He had a great year in his education. I'm very proud of all that he's accomplished. But most importantly, I told him I was proud of the human he was becoming, the relationships that he was building, the friendships that he had created. All of a sudden, we had for the last several years so many kids in our house, so much energy. And we're so lucky and blessed to have that. I can't say enough how much I appreciate that energy. And luckily we have great friends and lots of soccer games to still go to and energy to put out there. So it's not like it ends for us, but it's just a turning point, a turning of the page, that next chapter. I told him that he's going to struggle. He's going to need support. And that if he struggles, to remember it's just a moment and moments pass. And if you just remember that you're equipped, that you're prepared, then you'll be so much better off. We're always a call or a text away, and we want to know all of the moments, anything you'll share. Now, we're a couple weeks in. Some of you probably just dropped off your kids to college this week or this weekend or yesterday or whatever it may be. And we're not getting too many phone calls, but we are getting updated. I know they're busy, but the reality is, we're a phone call away. We not only want to hear about your great moments, and I think this is really important, an important part of parenting. I think as a kid, I can remember wanting to share all the best moments that I had. But what you really have to remember is that your parents love you for all the moments. And I'm happy with being a part of your most challenging decisions, of your biggest moments, of things that you need in any capacity. I'm also okay if you make that decision on your own, and I'll support you. I don't need it, but I'm here for you if you want me to be. And just making sure that those things really matter. I have always found to be easy for me to communicate, to talk, to speak. And I know my son also finds great value in that. He's a great leader, a great vocal leader. I told him words matter. I found a card from my mother when I was like 13 years old reminding me about my words matter and framing to say and think the right things, because the words matter that we tell other people, but they also matter in how we talk to ourselves. So how we speak to ourselves really does make a big difference. How you say things carry weight. You know, you can send the text, and I've done it just today. I sent a text that came across a way I didn't mean it to come across. It wasn't the intention. And I just walked in and said, hey, that wasn't what I meant. I meant it this way. And it was easy to clarify. But so many times the way you say something, how you say it, can come across in the wrong way. So really being careful about what we think and how we speak. I spoke about blaming others. It is wasting energy. There is no need to blame anybody. Take responsibility, learn from our mistakes, and grow. We grow when we assume responsibility, when we know that life is our choice. The path we choose is our choice. And so these are just some of the parenting lessons, and the letter was much cleaner than this, but reading the letter would probably be a little bit more personal to him, which is why I didn't do it. But the other thing that I really talked about was the role of faith. You know, in my life model, love, impact, faith, and energy. Faith and energy are on the foundational bottom. The reason they're on the bottom is because you have to get out of your own way. You have to have something bigger than yourself. God is something bigger than yourself. And for me, one of the things that I think is really, really important when it comes to faith is it allows you to see your parents as imperfect. This is really important when you're young. And for parents, for those of you listening to this, it's important that you understand you're imperfect. You're not supposed to be a perfect parent. And if you still look at your own parents as someone that was supposed to be perfect, then it's time to look in the mirror, because we are imperfect. And my faith allows me to know that I'm not perfect. Believing in something bigger than myself helps me to parent in a better way. You know, the lessons from my childhood allowed me to become who I am, and how my parents played a role in that allowed me to become who I am. But that's a role. That's not all. So you are not defined as you go to school and you go to the next chapter. You are not defined by me. You are partially a part of how we grew up together and what my influence was, but you will make your own choices. You'll take the information I provided, the love that we gave, the love that your mom gave, how we built up your strength and confidence, and you will make whatever path you want. And we will be a part of it. We will be part of the good parts. We will be part of the bad parts. When I talk about faith, one of the challenges that I think is interesting as I look back is one of the things that I'm most disappointed in myself on is the fact that I didn't lean on my faith as much as I probably should have, as much as I should have when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And, you know, it's part of the discovery. I went to Catholic school. I was very faithful, very devout and spiritual and in touch with my faith along the way. But I definitely didn't get involved in the church community at school. And when I found myself lost, I knew where to go, but I chose to look for the answers inside of myself. And that was very empty. And so I made sure I told him as he went away to school to look to the source, to the way, the truth, the life, not me, not inside of you, but to God, to Jesus, to something bigger than yourself. Get your ego out of the way. You will not solve it. And so, you know, I wanted him to know that was a regret of mine. He'll probably be challenged with the same things like most of us are when we're teenagers. But the reality is the importance of prayer, of mass, of gratitude are the foundation for becoming a good human. And that's all I want you to be, is a good human. I don't care about whether you're a good human that teaches school or is a CEO of a company or an investment bank, or you are, you know, whatever it is, an artist. I don't care. I just want you to be a good human, someone that you're proud of, that wants to actually come back and see us every once in a while, or maybe all the time, I'd prefer a Sunday dinner like we do with my family. When I look back at the biggest challenge of dropping off your son, your daughter to college, is that you're kind of losing a playmate. Somebody that you've hung out with, somebody that you've played around with, that just going to soccer games alone, like it became something so fun. We've passed a football at AT&T Stadium after watching the Cowboys beat the Eagles a couple times, the Giants, the Commanders. Like it's been great experiences, and those are really fun for both father and son. And I'm sure daughters and fathers, or mothers and daughters, there's so many of those moments, but we have the ability to stay connected through communication. And so I probably reiterated that about as much as I possibly could. Call your mom, call me. And I think as we're going through these moments, it's natural for all of us to be a bit uncomfortable. And I say that because I didn't think I would be. I didn't think I came from the school of thought where my dad said at 18, you're out of the house. He didn't care if I went to college, if I worked. He just wanted me to be successful and out of the house. And I definitely look forward to them growing up, but I also really enjoyed them growing up. So it is a really interesting dynamic. So I went into my conclusion was I explained my life model, and I went through again and I said, love are the who's in your life that matter most. Prioritize good energy, good people around you. You are the company you keep. And if you hang around with people that put energy into your life, you're going to have great ideas and they're going to get behind them. You're going to create amazing friendships. You're going to be friends for life. And you might create something great. You might do big things together. You might win big games together, whatever it may be. But remember the who's that matter most. And remember those that are with you at the time and those that you left behind, the ones that love you, the ones that will always be there for you. I talked about impact. As you go to college, your impact is definitely something you think about, but it's only from a professional perspective. And impact goes so far beyond profession. It does not matter what you do. It matters more who you do it for, how you do it, why you do it. And when you do something that you're passionate about, you're going to make an impact that goes so far beyond anything you ever envisioned that it's absolutely amazing. And when you find something that you actually are great at and you put that passion behind it, you will find some amazing results. And, I like to remind young people that finding passion in something comes from doing the work, not just thinking that passion comes out of it, or you're going to know that this is the perfect thing for you. No, it starts with hard work, seeing the results from your hard work, finding a passion for the process, not just the result. I talked about faith, which I talked about a few minutes ago, but I said your why is God and the foundation for all you do. Do things for Him, not for you, and you'll find yourself to be so much more successful. Energy is how you show up to the world, a healthy mind, a healthy body, healthy spirit. If you're partying every day at college, you can't have a healthy mind, body, and spirit. And this is coming from somebody who definitely had a fair share of parties. So I know I made mistakes. You'll make mistakes too. And we talked about that. But the reality is this: energy is something that you can control when it comes to a healthy mind, a healthy body, healthy spirit. Focus on how you show up to the world. When you are healthy, you are a better version of yourself. You're a better friend. You're better at your impact. You're more faithful. You can get up and actually go to Mass in the morning because you didn't stay up too late. How we show up to the world helps that energy that we need to put out into the world so we can get that good energy back. It's all part of the equation. So who, what, why, and how. And it's love, impact, faith, and energy. And I explained that, and I basically just wrote, look, God, family, friends, in that order. Have a great time. enjoy the ride. And so it's been a couple weeks now since we dropped him off, and I know he's doing well. I'm not getting called as much as I wish I would, but at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about growing up. And one of the things that I think parents struggle with today is I think that parents struggle with remembering that your purpose doesn't and isn't only in that child. It's part of your purpose. But you need to continue to live on. You need to build them to be strong enough to fly away. And I hope he doesn't fly too far away, but the reality is I want him to be successful. I want him to enjoy life. I want him to have his own family one day. And to do that, it means that mom and I cannot be the main characters in the story. We are not the main characters in the story. And it's not easy to not be the main characters in the story when it's the child that you've raised, right? Parents, everybody knows this. But we also know that they're the main character in the story. And when they realize that they're doing it for all the right reasons, and they know that you love them and they know that you're imperfect, they're gonna continue to do the things you taught them. They're only gonna be representations of the things that they chose to execute upon. And most of these kids, all of the ones that I know, if you're a friend of ours, somebody that I talk to on a regular basis, and we know your kids are great, and they're gonna be amazing, and they're gonna do great at school. You might struggle a little bit, and you'll probably pick up pickleball, or maybe go out to Wednesday dinners, or join a country club, or whatever it is. We got to find new hobbies. But the reality is they're prepared, because good parents are imperfect parents, but they love them and they prepared them the best that they can. So to all the kids that got dropped off, call your parents. To all the parents that made that emotional drop off, congratulations on the next chapter of their life and a beginning chapter for yours.